So after watching the video and the readings for this week, I am very shocked and my heart hurts for those people. The Canary Effect video, it was very hard to watch. But before watching the video, I've never heard of what the Canary Effect was. I was never taught about it in school or anything. It showed how Native Americans were nearly wiped out through genocide and forced to give up their land through broken treaties. They went through a lot, and it was really shocking that they took children as young as 3 away from their families and sent them to boarding schools. The children were stripped from their language, their culture, and their identity. They were forced to abandon where they came from and their background. It was just crazy that if the kids would speak anything but English, that they would be beaten. And I don't think that I would be able to be away from my family for years without seeing them. And the government's goal was to assimilate these children into a white society. And many of them experienced physical and emotional abuse during these times in the boarding school. Like, a lot of them were heartbroken from being away from their families, or they would try to escape and they would be killed. There was a lot of children that were killed, and that was very hard to hear about. When I was younger, I only learned about Christopher Columbus, about him coming to America. I was never taught about the Canary Effect, and I've never heard of it before, and it was just crazy to see a different perspective from that. Native communities continue to face extreme poverty, lack of access to quality health care and education, and they have higher rates of suicide and substance abuse. And this documentary also kind of sheds a light on the ongoing struggle that Native communities face today. Many of them still live in poverty, and they don't have access to proper health care or education or job opportunities. And with one of the readings, a little summary that I wrote, the U.S. Department of Interior released a report about the history of federal Indian boarding schools, which were active from 1810 to the 1960s. That's a long time. And these schools were aimed to force Native American children to abandon their cultures and assimilate into a white society. And this was often through harsh treatment and abuse. And the report identified 408 boarding schools across 37 states. This just shows how widespread the policy was. It also discussed the lasting harm caused by these schools, like them losing their cultural and the trauma that they went through. And this report is part of the effort to recognize the injustices faced by the Native Americans and to begin the healing process. It's important to understand these histories as a classroom teacher because they help us recognize the lasting effects of trauma, the displacement, and the cultural loss that many Native students may carry with them. Understanding this history can lead us as teachers to be more empathetic and culturally responsive teachers, like making our classroom more inclusive and supportive, and like a supportive environment for all students.